Hello, this is Christoph from Qlik, and this is video part 2 of setting up Qlik Sense Enterprise on Kubernetes on Azure AKS. In this part, we will set up an identity provider on Auth0, and we will set up a production-grade Mongo database using Atlas. So it's a good time to go to Auth0 and sign up for free. What we'll do with Auth0 is we will set up a user, groups, an application and a rule. So it won't take long, and let's get started by signing up with an email address. Let's pick a region. I'm going to set it up in EU and give this a nice tenant domain name. So let's say I'm an individual, I'm developer, and I'm adding Auth0 to my app. With that, I'm good to go. I'm actually getting already a database called a connection here. It only takes an email address and a password to sign up users, and that's fine. So let's go ahead and set up our first user. So it's again me. Pick a password that you want. And the connection is the one and only database we've got. Then let's go ahead and set up roles, which translates into groups in Qlik Sense. So let's set up a finance role and create it. And then I'm also going to set up a pre-sales role, just to have two roles. Then I go back to the users, edit the user again, and go to the roles page and click assign roles. So I can now pick the two roles or a combination. So I make this user a member of two groups. All right. Now let's go to the application. Create a new application. The type is a single page web application. Disregard the quick start templates. Just go to settings and note down the client ID and the client secret. So I'll copy both into a local notepad, so I have them handy when I later need them for my YAML configuration file. So now we have to go ahead and set the allowed callback URLs, and we need to go back to the URL of our Sense server environment. This is the IP address here. So I copy this and use that as the allowed callback URL. That's it for now. Let's save the changes of this app. And finally, let's set up a rule. Create a new rule, pick the empty rule editor, and copy paste the code snippet from the URL shown below. So this is necessary actually for Qlik Sense to pick up what we defined as a role in Auth0 as a group within Qlik. So frankly, pre-sales and finance will be known groups in Qlik Sense. We can go ahead now and set up and reconfigure the cluster to use our new identity provider. So for that purpose, grab the code snippet qliksense3.yaml and save it as a local file because we have to edit it. So I'm using Visual Studio Code to edit this, and where it reads client ID and client secret, I go ahead and replace this with the two strings that I copied from the Auth0 configuration. And of course, where it reads the discovery URL and the callback URL, I have to copy the domain name that we just created on Auth0. So instead of this one, I'm using chrisblack.au. Just make sure it starts with HTTPS. I had to come back and edit it again. after I recorded this video. And then we do helm upgrade Qlik and provide this new file. This takes a minute or two until it says release has been upgraded. A few pods will restart after that configuration. So let's see. A few pods are now restarted, like the engine. But there's one that does not automatically restart. That's edge off. And to be on the safe side, I will restart this one as well. So I'm copying this name into the clipboard and then go ahead kubectl delete pod and paste the pod ID. And now it has restarted as well to make sure the authentication module picks up the new identity provider config. So let's test it. I'm refreshing this and there we go. I'm redirected to Auth0 to the login page where I can log in with the user that I created a minute ago on Auth0. And now I'm taken back and I'm logged in actually. So now I can go ahead and set the license, which I'm not going to do now because we will also change the MongoDB. But this is good for now. Right, so the next and last step now is setting up a MongoDB. So on cloud.mongodb.com there is also a free sign up. And they also provide small database sizes for free. So after signing up, it suggests that I create my first cluster. It's always a cluster, even in the smallest deployment. And I'll choose a location on Azure and West Europe, because that's where also the rest of my installation is located, but you can choose any other. So the cluster is now created. Click on Connect. So you can set a whitelist address, make it 0.0.0.0, which means I'm accepting all IP addresses worldwide. And I have to create a MongoDB user. I call this the DBA, give this a strong password, of course, create the user, and then I can choose my connection and I'll go ahead and click for the connection string, copy paste this. So now let's go back and edit our Qlik sense YAML file. So the dev mode, I'll set it now to false, which means I'm no longer using the bundled MongoDB, and instead I'm providing the URI for my MongoDB. So I just paste the string I just copied, but remove everything after the question mark. And where it reads password, of course, I have to put my password. Let's save it as a new file name, give it the index 4, Qlik sense YAML 4. Now let's delete the entire installation of Qlik from AKS with the command helm delete Qlik --purge. I keep forgetting that I have to put .\helm in my case. This also takes a while and it will say Qlik deleted, and you can see the pods are terminating. Theoretically, this is not necessary, but a lot of pods depend on the MongoDB connection, so I don't want to figure out which pod I need to restart manually. I better purge and redeploy the whole thing. So I go again with helm install Qlik and the whole string, providing actually the Qlik sense 4 YAML file. This takes another 2 minutes or something, and then let's figure out with kubectl get services the IP address, or the new IP address. Unfortunately, when restarting the load balancer, it will get a new IP address and it takes a few minutes. And now we've got another one, 13.81 and stuff. This also means I have to re-edit my YAML file. So this doesn't work in one go. I have to go back and set the host name here. Save this and make an upgrade. It confirms that it is now upgraded and changed after a minute. Same as before, I better restart the sense of pod manually. It's this fellow here. Copy its name and the clipboard, and then go kubectl delete pod and that pod name. And I forced also the auth pod, the edge auth pod, to be restarted. Let's now go back to MongoDB and see if our cluster is connecting to it. And yes, it is. We see already some activity going on here. And if you click on collections, we can see the elements that Qlik Sense creates in the MongoDB. Now I want to connect to the new cluster using the new IP address. And it takes me to Auth0, but Auth0 doesn't know the callback URL. This is also just because we've got a new IP address. That means I need to re-edit my application on Auth0. Well, at this time I can give this a friendly name called login, and the allowed callback URL is now the new IP address, 13. something. Let's save this. Go back, just refresh. It should pick up the new config, and it's redirecting me with the login as Christoph Schwarz. Now I'll go ahead to console and set my license and start enjoying Qlik Sense. Now I'm set as the tenant admin. A tenant admin with unfortunately analyzer roles. That's the default assumption. I'll change this and make myself a professional user. Then in the settings, I will enable the creation of groups. So that means I want to not only work with usernames, but also group memberships. And this is now the new console. So I could go ahead, import some extensions. Later, when I have spaces, I can see them here and so on. So let's go to the new hub and create an app. It's the Test by Christoph app, just a real quick one. And let's open the app. Once you're in the app, this is Qlik Sense as you know it. I go ahead, create a REST connection, and just import some Northwind sample data that I found online. So just use these two tables, load this data, and you'll notice everything is in place. The load editor, the script editor, and when I go to analysis, also the insights dashboard is there. And I'm lazy now, just create some suggested charts like this map object, this bar chart, this line chart. So you see, this is my first app. Everything is there. So that's it. That's video part number 2. And let's quickly recap. We've set up Qlik Sense Enterprise on Azure Kubernetes services. We configured Auth0 as our identity provider, and we created a Mongo database on Atlas. We wired all things together, had to do a couple of restarts and configuration changes to facilitate this. And now we are in the new hub. We can go ahead, create more users, start collaborating between the users, creating more apps. But this is nothing specific to Qlik Sense on Azure. So that's why I'm stopping the video here and record another video later where I'm going to explain the collaborating features. Goodbye and thanks for watching.